This is futsal. It's not a five-a-side, pocket-sized version of the beautiful game. It's a thrilling sport in its own right. Over the last 20 years or so, futsal has developed professional leagues in a number of countries full of skillful stars employing cutting-edge tactics. And the 7th FIFA Futsal World Cup proved to be the perfect showcase. The event was hosted by Thailand, the third time the competition has been staged in Asia, with 2 venues in the capital Bangkok and another 3 hours drive away in Nakhon Ratchasima. The field had been expanded to 24, sorted into 6 groups, with the top 2 and the best third-place finishers moving into the knockout stage. The Thais opened the tournament against Costa Rica. It was the 4th time they participated, and on the strength of their second-place finish in the Asian Championships, they had hopes of making progress. A 3-1 win helped them qualify for the second stage, although that was as far as they went. The Japanese included one of Asia's finest footballers in their lineup. At 45 years of age, Miura's career may be winding down, but his presence at the tournament attracted a great deal of interest.
Well, the most important thing was that I was recommended strongly by Coach Miguel and by a number of members of the association. It's a whole new challenge for me. I want to contribute to making futsal more popular in Japan, and I think that, by playing myself, I can draw a lot of attention to the Japanese futsal team. That way, our futsal family will widen, and that's my biggest aim.
Japan failed to get beyond the second round, but the interest generated by Miura's role will surely stock up plenty of domestic futsal goodwill for the future. But for some teams, participation was an end in itself. The Solomon Islands are the dominant futsal nation of Oceania, 4 times champions, yet they found the leap to world competition rather tough. However, they did have some assistance in their preparations for Bangkok.
It's been extremely difficult. The biggest advantage that we had coming over for the World Cup was the helping hand that came from the Spanish Football Federation. We had 2 weeks training in Spain, but given that there isn't really a futsal court in the Solomon Islands, the boys have had to train in a basketball court which is far smaller, and it takes time to adjust into playing in a regular-sized court.
The Solomons opened with a 16-0 defeat to Russia, which was actually a major improvement, as the same opponents put over 30 past them at the last World Cup. Another double-figure defeat to Colombia followed, so by the time they met Guatemala in their final group match, bags had already been packed. But then the game turned into one of the most memorable in the tournament. Guatemala, for whom a draw would have guaranteed progress, took an early lead. But while the Solomons may lack experience, they're not lacking in skill, and goals from Stevenson and Bula gave them the advantage at half-time. With Guatemala still trailing 3-2 with less than 5 minutes left, they decided to move their goalie to an outfield position, but lose possession, and it's a dangerous thing to do. It gave the Solomons 16-year-old keeper Anthony Tallow the chance to seal his team's first ever World Cup victory. But while a place in the last 16 was the goal for many, for Brazil only the title would do. They'd won 4 of the 6 previous World Cups, including the last in a penalty shootout, and were determined to complete their own penta, a 5th world title, to stand alongside that of the outdoor Seleção.
It's one of the most played sports in Brazil. It's been played since 1950, and it's used in Brazil as a tool to develop players for outdoor football. Some of the best footballers today, players like Neymar, Robinho, Zico, Ronaldo, they all started with futsal. And as it's one of the most popular sports, it's not surprising it's uncovered many great talents.
But not all young futsal talent ends up playing outdoors. The one true superstar of the indoor game is Brazil's talisman Falcao. He's 35 now and has been on the national squad for nearly 15 years. In that time, he's played over 200 internationals, and his goal in the victory over Panama was his 337th for the indoor Seleção, giving him the international goal-scoring record across all the game's versions, ahead of beach soccer legend Nenem. But his body doesn't always do what it's asked these days. A calf injury restricted his tournament to a series of second-half cameos.
Futsal has always been my greatest passion. I used to kick a ball in the street with my friends, and in Brazil, like in many other places around the world I suppose, there's always a futsal court in your school. I used to take a yogurt to school, and after I'd eaten it, I'd play by kicking the pot around, always playing futsal. I go back and forth between football and futsal, but futsal was my choice, because I always have the ball at my feet. I always want to play, and I didn't have enough patience to play football. Ever since I was a child, I always wanted the ball at my feet. Futsal was my choice, and I don't regret it.
Facing Brazil in the quarter-finals were Argentina. In 57 previous encounters, the Argentines had won just 2. But no Argentina team is ever intimidated by a Brazilian shirt, and this turned into quite a match. Quite against the run of play, Argentina took the lead. And then scored a second before half-time. But then the second half saw Brazil's half-fit superstar rise from the bench to change the game. He helped prompt the first goal and then scored the equaliser himself. And in extra time, only one player could break the deadlock. Brazil safely through to the quarter-finals. We'll bring you the rest of the tournament later in the programme.